Welcome to the Big John Bass Show. Welcome to the Big John Bass Show.
Hello, legends, and welcome to the Big John Bass Show. I'm your host, Big John Bass. Thank you for deciding to spend your time listening to me. Hopefully this is going to be therapy for both of us. I'm going to talk into this mic and try and make myself feel better about the situation. What will probably happen is I'll wind myself up, which hopefully will make you feel better that you're not alone. Because you're not alone. We are all going through this together. And it's not good, is it? I remember when I was a kid, they used to teach us about shell shock for like World War I and World War II, soldiers and stuff like that. And I remember just like not being able to like really empathize, just be like, what do you mean? You're a soldier. Like you know what to expect. Like, you know, bombs and like shooting people and that is going to be scary. Of course, you must know it's going to be scary. So what are you worried about? What are you scared about? But now I get it. We are in the midst. We are in the trenches, lads. We are about to be relegated. And I just feel this sense of doom every game and now sadness. That's what I felt at the end of yesterday. Sadness. I'm recording this the morning after the game. So I've had some time to reflect and think about what we witnessed last night. And as always on the Big John Bass Show, I'm going to try to keep this as a more calm take and view and analysis of what we saw yesterday and the fallout of that. Touch on a few of the elements of the Manchester United game because I think they're relevant to the bigger picture. I'm not going to go sort of through the game, but more some of the talking points from that as well. And then I'm going to get into your listener questions. So let's start with the Newcastle game. Look, I understand with all of these injuries that from a selection point of view that Frank is fairly limited. I do get that. I do have some sympathy for that. However, I think, and this is sort of emblematic of the club, it seems, I don't think they understand how serious this is. Because if you did, and you really thought, okay, we need to start picking up points like now against Newcastle, we have to get 3 points. There's no world that you don't start João Palhinha. There's just no world where you don't pick João Palhinha. Now, look, I just want to make this perfectly clear. I've been a big supporter of his. I think he's a really good player. I think there's room for him in any team because I think players with his attributes get much maligned for no reason. And the reason is sort of football snobbery and also modern football convincing people that you have to be a certain type of player for every number position on a pitch. Like a 6 has to be able to do X and Y and Z and the other. And I think I've said on this podcast many times, and certainly across all the pods that I've done, they just don't exist. Right? There's Rodri, there's Busquets, there's like a handful that can break up play in a world-class level, that can cover positionally at a world-class level, that can also pass and recycle the ball to a world-class level. Most of the time, you get one or two of those bits. That's it. Right? Most teams have a good player who can do one of those things. Even some of the best sides had just destroyers who couldn't really do the passing bit, but they'd complement them with a really good midfielder who could do the other part. And that's why I've always defended João Palhinha, because I'm like, you're expecting him, or you're saying that we need like a Rodri type, like they just grow on trees. They don't really exist. And especially in the shape that we're in, a player like João Palhinha is very good. All right, and can do a very good job for us. He has to be used in the right way. If you're asking him to create, passing patterns and, find forward passes, yeah, fair enough. He's going to look limited in the same way as if you ask, Solanke to play centre back and man mark his man. It's not his role, right? Or even play Solanke as a 10 and say create for a number 9, right? You're both strikers, so you sit in and create for a number 9. He couldn't do it, right? It's just a different skill set. So I'm saying all of that to say this. The other reason that João Palhinha is such an important player and should be playing every game where possible for us is he has the right mentality. He is a leader on the pitch. He is someone who leads by example, unlike Romero, and this isn't, we'll get into Romero later on in the sort of United section, and I don't want to dig him out. But I think we can all agree he's hot-headed, right? And his actions in that United game have left him to be suspended, which means he's not available. You have to have Palhinha on the pitch. He's the only one who's a leader who has got the mental fortitude, the calmness, but there's still that drive and passion that you need to get out of what is a relegation battle. He has to play. So him not starting was immediately kind of ridiculous to me, if I'm honest. And I think that kind of played out because as soon as he came on the pitch, and I know there are other factors, but we looked 10 times better with Palhinha on the pitch. And that's not saying much, right? We went from a 1 to a 2, basically. So the game to me was very disjointed. We were under the cosh immediately to the point where for about 20 minutes, I was watching it and I was thinking, God, what is going wrong here? This is so disjointed. We all we're doing is banging it long to Solanke. And then I was like, oh no, we've had a man sent off. My brain had just sort of amalgamated Romero sending off at Man United and the way that we were sort of under the cosh there. And this game, because we were getting absolutely battered by them, and I thought, well, there's no possible way. We were obviously down to 10 men. And so this idea popped into my head like Inception. And I was like, oh yeah, we're down to 10 men. Okay, that's not too bad then because we're down to 10 men. And then I just, within a minute, remembered that wasn't true. My brain had made it up. And this is what I mean about the shell shock thing. I'm now experiencing, daylight fantasies. I'm just dreaming. I'm making stuff up to make myself feel better. So we didn't have 10 men. We were just shit. We were rubbish. That was the problem. And so actually, when you look at it, we were getting battered by a team who are in terrible form, who are apparently lacking in confidence. They were all over us. They were cutting us open, finding passes. And it's the thing that I've been seeing, to be fair. This goes back even under Ange towards the end, where when we have the ball, I can't see how any team could score a goal. I'm like, it looks impossible to get out from the back four to the midfield. It looks even more difficult to go from the midfield to get it into your attackers and get up the pitch by passing it. It looks impossible. But when other teams get the ball, it's just bop, 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 bop. They're up the pitch and they're in. And I just don't understand why we make it look basically impossible to move the ball in any meaningful way, to pass the ball in any meaningful way. And that has to, okay, look, there's a couple of elements here. One is of course the players, right? Of course there is. Like, if they are technically not good enough to do it, then they're obviously going to struggle to do it. My point has always been, and I maintain this, that, well, there's two things. One, if they've been instructed to play tick-a-tacker, possession-first football, right, you'd be able to see that they were trying to do it, and if they weren't good enough, they wouldn't be able to do it, right? And that's one thing. Right, and I could accept that. I could accept us going, we're trying to be a possession-based football team who's, all about keeping the ball and moving the ball forward through the lines and passing and progressive passing and all of that and automations and systems and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, cool. I can see it. Like I could see inverted fullbacks with Ange. I cannot see we're doing anything other than bang it long. Bang it long. Bang it into Solanke, see if he can hold it. Bang it up the line to Odegaard, see if he can do something with it. And a couple of times, a ball got clipped over the top of Dan Burn, and Odegaard beats him for pace. And he gets it. And guess what? He goes absolutely nowhere, and it goes up for throwing. Same for Solanke. They're just all over him. He holds the ball up because he's pretty good at that. Holds the ball up, and then it just gets lost. There was absolutely no movement. So many times a ball would be in, the midfielders, the deepest midfielder who's come to get it, or the centre-backs. And there's no movement. No one is coming towards the ball to get it, to make space for someone else to then move and get it back. There's no just basic football triangles, right? Like simple stuff that you learn as a kid. Like you move in here and come and get it, then you move off the line and come and get it back. And you've gone round that player that's in your way. Like basic stuff you learn when you're a kid or a Sunday league football team. Nothing. Just play it along the back four until you get pressed and then kick it long. It's just not a style of play that you can really judge the players by. Now, they're not doing well in that system. That is true. But I just don't see how any team does well doing that. It's certainly not a team now that's going to be scrapping for points. It's not going to get us where we want to get to. It's just not viable in the Premier League for me. And I know there's this shift towards it's about physicality, it's about set pieces, it's about. It doesn't have to be, though. Doesn't have to be. And clearly it is not working. It's rubbish. It is rubbish. This is not a sustainable or viable way of playing. It just isn't working. So I'm not sure why we're all out on the players. And I know, I don't want to sound too hypocritical here, but I know I've been very critical of the players, saying that generally speaking, these players aren't going to be good enough to where we want to get to. But where we wanted to get to when I was making those points was 6th, 5th, 4th. We're now in a relegation battle, and these players should be good enough, and they're better than the players that are in squads in those other teams. They are, because they get selected for their national teams, and they are better players than them. So this does come down to the way that we're playing. And like I said, if we had a system that was set up to be possession-based, all-attacking football, the type of football that we want to see, and they were trying it and they couldn't do it, that's a different story. That is a different story. You'd go, well, look, when we get our best players back and put them into this team, they'll be able to perform in a certain way. But we can't do it because we don't have a way of playing. It's absolutely terrible. We also, look, we definitely do have runners in the team, right? But more than technical players. So just to go back on my point about Palhinha, I mentioned that he needs those sort of more technically gifted passers type players alongside him. No, we don't have that. And we signed Gallagher in January, who I thought was a good signing. I wanted him in addition to a player that can pass, that is a more sort of creative, positive type of passing type player in the midfield. We didn't get one. We're crying out for one. You can have a Palhinha if you've got a Modric, or you've got a Tony Cruz, or you've got a Pirlo, or whoever, or a Wharton. You can have them alongside each other. But you can't just have Palhinha, Gallagher, Sarr, Bergvall, Gray. They're runners, they're ball carriers. I mean, they're all individually good players. I'm going to stand by that. And you can make a team out of those players, but you've got to play a different way. But what we're doing is just bypassing everything, pumping it long and hoping for the best. And I do just really feel like this is the reason that we're in this mess, is the football is so bad. The way that we play is so bad. It's a negative mindset. It's a cowardly way to play football. And I just don't think it's going to work. And clearly isn't working. And regardless of the personnel, we should be doing better than that. So yeah, look, the first half was terrible. Then we've got an Odebear injury. So that looks, I mean, for those of you who haven't seen the game, he's basically sort of shutting down a player. He's on his own. He's not next to anyone. And he just sort of lands awkwardly on his knee. It'll be a cruciate ligament. It'll be something bad like that, because it's that weird, all your weight on one side sort of bends the knee at the side. It didn't look good at all. Really bad. So I hope I'm wrong and he's just, sometimes you get that. I've had that way of playing football, and you land and you hyperextend your knee and it feels like your whole leg snapped in two, and then, it's a couple of weeks and you're back. But you can do that and be out for months. So we'll see what happens with that one. But yet again, another injury. And look, these ones are just unlucky. There is no way around it. We can look back over the last couple of years and go, was it Ange's training methods and way of playing? Is this now a knock-on effect of those, older injuries, blah, blah, blah? Sure, but there are some injuries that are just completely bad luck. And that one is definitely one of them, which is frustrating because Odebear, I know he's got his critics, and I'm not saying he's the second coming of Lionel Messi, but he's a bright spark and he's a player that I was hoping could go on and be quite decent for us. And yet again, it's another injury. So I don't know what happens with that. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, we need to start looking at recalling Mikey Moore, and I'm deadly serious about that because you can forget Colin Moani. Like, Colin Moani is pointless. Like, he's pointless. He is absolutely pointless. I'd be looking at getting in Williams Barnett. Like, get these young players in. They're hungry. Surely they want to play. They're probably desperate to play. And I understand it's like, oh, they're young lads and all the rest of it. Cool. Don't care. Right? If they're good enough to be on the bench, they're good enough. If they are good enough, they're old enough. These cliches exist for a reason because we've seen plenty of young players come in and do a job. I'm not talking about them starting 90 minutes every week for a whole season, but needs must right now, right? Are you going to get much less from Williams Barnett than you're getting from Colin Moani? No, you're not. He cares, right? I actually know some people who know his family. They're Spurs fans. He's a Spurs fan. His whole family are Spurs fans. You think he's not going to die for the shirt? Like, what are we doing here? Mikey Moore, same thing. Family, Spurs fans. Get him back from loan and get him in the side. Someone who cares. Because we know when it comes to relegation, you either need experienced operators, which we didn't sign any in January. Right? We didn't do the Hail Mary of, right, we're going to be in a relegation battle. Let's get in some people that have been used to this and scrappers and blah, blah, blah. Now, look, there aren't a lot of those players that exist anymore, the way football's changed. But that's what you used to do, right? You used to bring it. You used to sack a manager and bring in an interim, or sacking a manager and bring in a relegation specialist, Big Sam, etc. Haven't done that either. So the other thing you should do is bring in players who care, right? Look at your squad and look at the available players and go, who gives the most in training? Who cares the most about this club? Who's going to fight for every ball, for every opportunity? Because that is what it's going to take. Players like Colin Moani are going to get us relegated. I'd send him back now. He's waste of space, complete waste of space, absolutely disgraceful player. Get him gone. I would get him gone and I'd bring back Mikey Moore. And if there's penalties for that, don't care, because the penalty for not doing it is relegation. And that's way worse. So, yeah, we have to seriously think about this in a way that isn't just, oh, we could go down. No, we're going to go down. We're going to go down if we don't change anything, right? Like, if we don't make a decision to do something different, we're going to go down. So this has to be a conscious effort from Vinay, mainly. This is who I'm looking at now. You've got to change something. We can't carry on doing what we're doing here. This is gonna get us relegated. So anyway, Odebear goes off, and then Willock's disallowed goal. Now, look, I just want to say this because it doesn't matter now because we lost the game anyway. And obviously, he's ex-Gooner, and it will put them 1-0 up and all the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. But just take your Spurs hat off for a minute. And maybe this is my bass of the net rant, another VAR rant. VAR's been in the headlines this week for all of the wrong reasons, as usual, because it's fucking terrible. Willock's goal was onside. I'm sorry, but it was onside. Never offside in a million years. You can show me that line, that stupid line, as many times as you want. His fingertips, that he's like pointing basically for where he wants the ball, and the side of his head, and I mean like literally like the corner of his temple, are quote unquote offside. They are on an invisible line that he can't see and the defender can't see, are the other side of that line where the defender is. That is not offside in any normal human realm. That cannot be offside. The reason that we have like lines on the pitch where the box is so players know whether the ball is out. Players know whether if the keeper handballs it outside of the box, he knows because there's a line and he can see it himself and make a judgment call whether or not he wants to make a handball or not. You can't have a system where players cannot tell whether or not they're onside or offside because of their fingertips and the corner of their head. Like, it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. Like, he's gaining no... If I could stand a meter behind someone, point across over their shoulder and be offside, how does that make sense? How does that make sense in any way? So, thankfully, VAR this time has come to our rescue. He's offside, disallowed, fine. But it's that classic thing of you can see the goal like that, and it goes one of two ways. Either you go, right, we have to buck our ideas up here, and the game sort of turns actually, or it's just ominous. This is what's going to come. We're about to concede, and yeah, then we concede an absolute scrappy, terrible goal from a set piece. Vicario just flapping about as usual. Terrible, absolutely terrible, terrible, terrible. It's just a team that doesn't know what they're trying to do. And then we come out for the second half, again, just immediately under pressure. Like they smell blood, basically. And I don't blame them because, at this point in the game, they've got every reason to, because we're just completely pointless. That's my arbitrary sip of Barocca. Barocca today, lads. I'm recording this in the morning. And yeah, I just need a bit of Barocca. So we've gone from, pints of water to now sipping Barocca. That's what Spurs have done to me. Come back in a few weeks. It'll be pints of vodka at 9 a.m. That's what it'll be. Or it'll be like, like in those old detective movies when it's like the detectives are drinking black coffee, but it's just like full of whiskey. It's going to be that, isn't it? Right, second half. Again, just felt like we were down to 10 men. We're just under the cosh, relentlessly under the cosh, just defending for our lives. The only player in that game, there were two players I thought did themselves justice anyway. Archie Gray, before the goal, I just thought he was positive. He went on that little run, didn't he? And then he sort of cut it back to Tell, or smashed it back to Tell. Actually, it was a bit of a bad cross. But just determination. That kid's been asked to play everywhere. Everywhere. Centre back, right back, left back, hold of midfield, number 8, number 10, left side of midfield. Like, the one thing that gets lost in all of this is as usual, is like the quality of young players being asked to do ridiculous things because the senior hierarchy at this club have made a complete mess. They've made a complete mess and hung him out to dry. The fact is that Archie Gray is a phenomenally talented footballer and one day will be an excellent first team player for someone. Right now he's been asked to do way too much. Way too much. And he's doing a good job of it. So he should definitely, keep his head high. I thought Xavi Simons, I've been super critical of him. I don't think he's as good as everyone else thinks he is, but I think his potential talent is as good as everyone thinks he is. So I hope that we'll see it, that ceiling, because you can clearly see there is a lot of talent there. My biggest concern is, will we ever see it? Will we ever really see the best of what he could be? And look, it's impossible. I'm not basing it on this game, not even basing it on this season. It's impossible to tell at the minute because this team is so dysfunctional. But he's the only one who looks creative and technically gifted and can see a pass and will try things differently. In a good side, you could tell he would be really effective. And it's such a shame because there are some good players dotted around this team and this squad. It's really frustrating. Like the spine of our team, if you look at, okay, Vicario definitely needs upgrading, but you look at Romero and Van der Ven, they're definitely decent, right? There's definitely something there. Polina, Gray, Xavi Simons, Gallagher are all good players. Bergvall, they're all good players. Now, I'm not saying that's like a starting lineup, but like as a group of central midfielders, there's something there. You get a Wharton in the mix, and between that mixture of players, there's a pretty good lineup there. Then you've got like the Xavi Simons sort of number 10. We've got Maddison there. Those two, there's definitely good enough there. And then where we're light is up front, right? But even Solanke and Kulusevski, like those players are good. So we're missing like sprinkle 3 or 4 quality players at that level. And this changes around. And I know there's injuries and I know we haven't signed players and blah, blah. I know that. What I'm saying is the complete squad isn't complete garbage. There's enough good players there that you could do something good with them. But we've got to stay up. We've got to stay up to rectify this and get the most out of them. And yeah, as soon as we get that equaliser, I was like, okay, fine. I don't care what happens in this game. Just get a win. Just scrape over the line. Just get a win here. We need to find a way to win. We get the equaliser. Immediately we're on the counter-attack and I'm thinking, right, come on, just slot him in, play him in. We got a chance here. And Gallagher, look, I'm not going to pick on him. Players have bad games and he had an awful game. He just kicked the floor, misplaced the pass, whatever. And we just get immediately counter-attacked and concede 2-1. Just gut punch. Absolute gut punch. And that was it, right? It was just a damp squib finish. There was no rousing, let's give it a go, come on, like. And for all of Thomas Frank's absolute nonsense about we need the fans, we're the fans got support. The fans were so loud, like, I don't know if it was what I was watching it on. I didn't go to the game, so I don't know what it was like inside the ground. But it sounded like the fans that were inside the ground were trying to get behind the team. I could hear a lot of songs. I could hear them singing and cheering. And this idea, and I've seen a few people as well going, we deserve this as a fan base because we didn't get behind the protest and, we didn't do this and we didn't. The fans don't deserve this. We're the last people that deserve this. I'm not having that. I'm not having that. Fans deserve bad outcomes because they didn't do things that they didn't think would help, right? The reason people didn't go to protest, they didn't think it would help, right? They might be wrong about that. And you might think, well, what else are you going to do? You need to protest. You need to be in account. You need to do the walkouts. You need to do the pre-match stuff. That's fine. I agree. I think that's why I've always been supportive of Change for Tottenham, because I agree. Broadly speaking, with what they're trying to do, I tend to agree with that. Have I been to the protests? No. Did I do walkouts or anything when I had my season ticket? No, I gave up my season ticket because I didn't want to keep paying into the system. That's what I did. I haven't said everybody should get rid of their season ticket, because it's your own decision. Not everybody has to think the same. Any decision that fans have made hasn't been what's going to damage the team, right? They have, every decision they've made where they've gone, I don't agree with Change for Tottenham, or I do agree with Change for Tottenham, both of those people thought that's what's best for the team. Because we're Spurs fans, we want the team to do well. So I would really suggest to anyone who's going, yeah, we deserve this, just think about that for a minute. Think about what the implications of that are. Is that we've somehow said things or done things on purpose to do bad things to the club, and as a result of that, we now deserve to be relegated. That's not what's happening here. We all want the best for the club. We all take a different way to support and sort of show our loyalty to the club. And as a result of other people who we have no control over making terrible decisions, i.e. the Lewis family, Levy, Vinay, Langer, Thomas Frank, we have a terrible, terrible form football team that are going to get relegated if they don't change. It doesn't matter if I kept my season ticket, booed every single minute of every single game, went to every single protest, was banging on none of that would change anything. Right? None of that would change anything. Now, yes, it would change something if all of us went, but we don't know if the entirety of 60,000 people marched down the high road saying, we want Frank out, whether they would even sack him. We don't know that. We just don't know that. 60,000 people have been booing him for the last 3 months and they haven't sacked him. So I just don't think infighting at this moment in time is a positive thing. And if anything, that is going to have a negative effect on what happens next. We've got to stick together as a fan base, at least, and be united in the way that we're seeing things, which is the players are not being coached well. They should be doing better on the pitch. Langer should be doing better with recruiting players to then come out on the pitch. Vinay should be selecting better director of footballs and better managers to do better on the pitch. And the Lewis family need to put their money where their mouth is, because they told us there was 100 million injection into the club and they didn't spend a penny of it in January. And Langer sat there, proud as punch, going, well, this we didn't panic buy. We didn't want to panic buy. You needed to. You fool. You needed to. You should be panicking. The fact that you're not panicking isn't a good thing. It shows a complete lack of awareness. And this is just a symptom of a lack of understanding of what football and what Tottenham is all about. They don't get it. They do not understand what is happening here. And that's why the game ended. Game ended in the way it did, right? And this is why my big worry. And I'm recording this in the morning, so by the time this goes out, maybe Frank is sacked. In which case, fair enough. But I think the reason that he hasn't been sacked for such a long time is because Vinay just really believes this is Arteta Mark II and that it'll be fine. And it's just about being patient. He oversaw that process with Arteta, who was unpopular, who was being hounded by their fans, and he was the man who stuck with him, and it paid off. And so now he's doing it again. There's no other explanation why Frank is still in the job at the moment of recording. Like I said, if he goes now, fine. He should have gone months ago. And look, the game ended. We had slightly more possession, 52%. The XG was still in Newcastle's favour, 2.48 to 1.85, so 2-1, which is how it finished. They had 21 shots. Fair enough, only 5 of them on target. We had 16 shots, 2 on target at home in a game you're desperate to win. 2. We scored 1. 2 shots on target at home. Big chances missed. And I heard Thomas Frank, so we had 1 big chance missed. I heard Thomas Frank saying, we had a chance on the counter, we didn't take it. Our chance on the counter, we didn't take it. So we have to take every chance we would have had to have taken every chance to just draw that game. That is not sustainable. It's garbage. In the first half alone, they had 9 corners. And we didn't have a single one. I think we might have had 1, actually. And the game ended with them having 12 corners to our 2. And that was supposed to be, we're good at set pieces, get balls in the box. We can't even get corners because we can't get up the pitch. Absolutely terrible. Terrible. So, yeah, look, that's left us in a position where we are now really getting dragged in. Throw in the Leeds drawing against Chelsea, West Ham drawing against United, and thank God for Sesko getting that last-minute equaliser. Otherwise, this situation would be even worse. And again, we're at that point now where we're looking over our shoulder at every single result, every single moment in these games. I will say it was quite funny that I did see footage of that long-haired Man United fan who wants his haircut when the goal went in. And I don't really keep on top of this story, but I haven't seen him for ages. His hair looks mental. So it's just funny just sitting in watching the game, looking like 80s Gina Davis. And then seeing his head just slump as the goal goes in. It is quite funny, that story. So yeah, look, then we just have to watch these results, and we're just hoping and praying for these results. And like I said, the game was just a damp squib. It just finished with nothing. Like 2 shots on target at home against a team who are out of form, who are dropping like a stone, when you know you need to win. And we play like that. Is honestly absolutely ridiculous. So then it goes. Then I want to sort of go into post-match, right? And like I said, Thomas Frank after the game was just so, I don't know what I'm expecting. And we were chatting in the Fighting Cock WhatsApp group, and Zeus and I were basically going back and forth. I was like, they're not going to sack him. Like, they're just not going to. And he was sort of convinced that it was going to happen before Dortmund, and there were noises around that, and then he wins a Dortmund game, and it sort of gave him a stay of execution. And I guess the reason that we're having this back and forth is I'm not basing it already anything. I'm basing it on just a gut feel, which is that I just can see a world where they just hold on to him because that's what they've been doing. But he, afterwards, in the interview, and I shared this in the chat, and it wasn't really evidence, it was more just like, I can't believe he's talking like this. He was just like so calm. And they were kind of saying to him, like, have you spoken to the leadership? And he's like, yeah, we spoke yesterday. Everything's fine. Like, there's no issues there. I'm like, do you expect to be in charge against Arsenal? He's like, yeah. Like, he was almost like shocked by the question. Like, yeah, of course I do. Now, look, Zeus quite rightly pointed out to me, well, what's he going to say? No manager's ever come out and said, oh, yeah, actually, yeah, they're going to sack me. Fair. Completely fair. Right? But it was his body language. It didn't feel like a man on the edge. Remember last season with Ange towards the end? It felt like any minute he was going to go. it was palpable, right, that he's going to get fired. He knows it, and we know it, and he's on the edge, and at any minute they're going to pull the trigger, and they're only keeping him there because of Europa League. That it felt like he knew that. It just doesn't feel like that with Frank, and maybe that's again is just his personality, where maybe he does know it and just doesn't show it. I don't know, but the whole thing is really bad. And look, let's make no mistakes about it, we are in a relegation battle now. 100%. We needed to win against Newcastle in order to be in with a chance of making this much more comfortable. Relegation is a real battle now, so we have to make a change. So I hope by the time this goes out, Frank's been sacked and we're looking at interim managers, because we have to do it. I joked yesterday on Twitter. I say joked. I'm sort of not even that unserious. Big Sam, get him in. Let's get the big dog, Aladici. Let's get him in and stay up. Now, obviously, like, I'm being a bit tongue-in-cheek with that suggestion, but I honestly think it's that. I think it's like just getting a proper football man who's going to let him off the leash and go, right, let's just keep the ball, like a little bit of progressive football, couple of simple things, tighten up the defence, back to basics. No one can defend these days, and this isn't a Spurs thing. Again, my nephew plays for Man City. He's in their academy, and there are a lot of coaches there. There are a lot of ex-players there, some well-known ones, who, when you chat to them, they're just like, no one can defend. They don't know how to defend. All defenders get taught is how to play football, right? How to pass, how to move, how to recycle the play, how to do stuff. And that is having a knock-on effect. Like, defenders don't do the basics, which is why you got some of the goals we concede are criminal. They are criminal. Basic defending. Get a manager in who can just coach players how to defend would give us half a chance. And then get them building from there in terms of like how to get up the pitch and attack and in a better way. So I actually think you solve this with get rid of Frank and his tactics board and his data team and his spreadsheets and his stupid little tactics board. Has anyone seen the pictures of it? Stupid. You don't need that. Too much information, complicating it. Get a Harry Redknapp, a Big Sam, an Ancelotti type. Just back to basics. Here's how you play football. Because this lot are more talented players they're playing against. Give them a chance to show that. Give them a chance. And just do whatever you can do. Just do whatever you can do to change the situation with Thomas Frank. Get him out. He has to go. We've got to be looking at interims. If we don't, we are in a really, really bad way. Now, I was looking here before at like Spurs' the table, right? And we are in a real situation here. So we are basically in 16th place. We've played 26 games. We've got 29 points. Forest have played 25 and are on 26 points. So and then it's West Ham on 24. So like this gap is going to evaporate. Like we've got the scum next, so that's probably no points. So we could be in the relegation zone very, very soon. It's beyond crazy, isn't it? That we've found ourselves in this situation. Like I actually can't quite fathom how it's got this bad. Right, let me answer some of your questions on Twitter here. Let me just look at my phone here and let me find out what you lot have been saying. So, okay, question. Not a question, but I want to say your take on the board at Spurs, only realising something might be wrong after the West Ham game rather than sacking Frank might be spot on. Actually, here's a question. What's the most outrageous thing Frank could do and still not get sacked? I would say get us within 5 points of the relegation zone, which is what he's doing it, isn't he, James? This was from James Sale, 1987. He's doing it, right? This is outrageous what he's doing. Lowest win percentage for a Spurs manager. The losses at home, the results against West Ham. He's got to go. But like, yeah, you're right. I remember saying it. I think the West Ham game was the first time the board realised, oh, maybe this isn't quite right. Whereas we were all like, this is the end, right? So I think we're now in the process where it should be, hopefully, on their radar, but I still don't think we're at the end. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this goes out and I look stupid, but I just can't see it. Stuart Drake, tricky one, but I believe it was well documented. Xavi left Leipzig as they were not in Champions League. He signed a long-term deal with us, but do you think he wants to stay with us, considering how bad the season has been? Any other players you think will ask to leave? Well, look, if we go down, they'll all ask to leave. All the decent players will ask to leave. It depends on what we can do to hold on to them. Obviously, we would be in a situation where, Romero, Xavi, etc., are on fairly long contracts. A little bit easier to just sort of say to them, look, you've got to stay, get us back up. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a really messy situation. And some people have been asking, could we do an episode either on the Fighting Cock or on here about what actually happens if we get relegated? I would suggest that's probably better suited to the lab, with like Flav could do an episode on the lab with that, which I think would be really good. But if not, then yeah, I'll definitely do that as part of the sort of guest pods that I have. Think about who would be a good guest to have that discussion with and talk that through, because the implications of us getting relegated in terms of players we can keep and hold on to is huge. Like, it's a really big problem. Okay. Next question from 164 IAB. The only way this makes any sense is if Poch has already done a deal for the summer and it's not worth taking the PR hit of sacking Frank now. I feel the board didn't factor in relegation though, and now they're panicking. Tomorrow's matches are absolutely crucial. Well, look, yeah, as I said before, I don't think they are panicking, which is what worries me, right? They said so smugly, like Langer was so smug, we didn't panic buy in January. We didn't need to panic buy, and you should have. You should have been panicking. You should have been panicking when we lost to West Ham. You should have been thinking about this before West Ham. This is my issue, is that they're like delayed. They're like sort of behind us. And I think that's a really big problem for us. As for Poch, God, I hope so. I hope so, because we're going to need him. And the next question here from Morgan Medjay. Do you think if we get relegated, the only top manager that would consider managing us in the Championship is Poch? Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably, because the emotional connection there. And that's what it could come down to. Like, we might need Poch to get us out of that mess. Oh, God, us going down is unthinkable. And, the seed has definitely been planted that if we start to slip into it, and we're there now, right? We're in this mix. Teams are going to relish every game. They are going to relish the opportunity to be one of the teams that help send us down. They will love it. They will love it, to quote Kevin Keegan. So we got to turn this around quick, and we got the Scum next. What do we do in that? What do we do in that game? If they sack him today and you get an interim in, you've got 12 days, you've got enough time to come up with a specific game plan for Arsenal. They won't sack him. They just won't. Ole Andreas Olsen, there will be more games in the Championship, thus more matchday income. It will make sense now. And hashtag Frank is wank. Yep, fair enough. Mid Ulster Spurs Supporters Club, big up you lot. Genuinely wish you and the rest of the Fighting Cock took over as interim management team. Can you imagine it? It would be absolute mega lols. It would be chaos and fun. That is true. It would be chaos and it would be fun. On a serious note, who from the Fighting Cock crew would make the best interim manager and why? I'm going to go for a management duo of me and Alex from Bristol. Passion and gravy. I just feel like, you put the two of us in there, you got Al's pure passion and aggression and motivation. I feel like I could give the team talks, right? I could get them motivated, get them to understand the culture of the club, and we'd let them off the leash. It'd be free flowing, attacking football. Me and Al have very similar philosophy on football. I think we'd do a job. But yeah, get all the boys involved, right? Get all of the lads involved. You sort of bring in Flab as director of football, suggesting players you've never heard of because he can't pronounce their names right. I think that would be quite fun. That'd be pretty good. Ricky, head of comms, just like, yeah, Tottenham would like to announce their new manager is Alex from Bristol and Big John Basdog. that'd be quite good. You know, just get him involved in that. You'd have Cal as head of security, just like making sure anyone wearing red's not allowed in the stadium. You know, the music that you have before and after the game, get T on there. It's best, you know, best music taste of anyone. I think that would be pretty good. You'd have to ban Mark Nesbitt because no more Danes. Sorry, Mark, no more Danes allowed. So you couldn't have that. Yeah, and obviously, you know, all the other lads we'd find positions for them. Like we'd find positions for them. It'd be fine. Get Spooky to do the sort of thing that they do before the game. It's like the game is about glory. You get Spooky to write one of them, and then do the voiceover. I think that'd be really nice. So yeah, and then anyone else I've forgotten. Sorry, lads, but yeah, we'll find a job for you. Don't worry. Chris, 1882, Champ Man CMC. Where are Frank and the higher-ups having their nice lunch today, for fuck's sake? Yeah, well, exactly. This is my point. Can't see anything changing. Just don't know what we do from here. It's going to be super frustrating. So there is a tweet here from David Ornstein. Exclusive, Thomas Frank sacked as Tottenham Hotspur head coach. THFC working through various possible contingency plans to replace 52-year-old Dane as clubs sit 14th in the Premier League, 5 points above relegation zone after 2 wins from 17 matches. Looks like it's been confirmed as well from a few other sources. So he has gone. He has gone. Thank goodness for that. Thank God for that. We needed that desperately. We need a shot in the arm. We needed something to change. And this is the right move. Thankfully, he has been sacked, and now we need to find another manager, an interim manager that can do something with this. So yeah, thankfully, he's been let go. He's been relieved of his duties. We now need to find an interim manager, someone who's going to bring in youth team players, someone who's going to galvanise the squad, get rid of players like Colin Moana who don't want to be here, create a siege mentality. Right, let's really build into this idea of we've got to stay up. We've got to get a result. We've got 12 days now between now and the Arsenal game. Let's just find a system, a way to win, and let's get the points we need to stay up. They've got to build this siege mentality, got to build this idea. Like I said before earlier in the pod, bring back your Mikey Moores, get Williams Barnett and that and into the team. Build the siege mentality. Those that aren't interested in the fight, get lost. Those that want to be here and want to make this happen, this is what we're going to do to get out of it. They need someone inspiring, someone who can really lift them. And if they do that, we'll have half a chance of staying up. Thank the Lord Thomas Frank has gone. His reign of terrible, is over. Something to be cheerful about. Something we can hold on to that can maybe give us a little bit of something. So, yeah, look, I just want to say a big thank you to those that have been subscribed to the pod. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me on these sessions. I call them therapy sessions because that's basically what they are. It means a lot to me that you guys choose to spend your time listening to this podcast, especially when things are so rough at Spurs. And I'll always be grateful for that, and I don't take it for granted. So thank you very much. I'll be back very soon. Like I said, I'll do a pod on what relegation could look like, a DNA Spurs episode, and maybe who our next manager is. We'll get those pods out to you as soon as possible. So yeah, look, thanks for rocking with me, and come on you Spurs.